right, what's up, everybody? This is CRL Chart Request Live. I'm Spencer. That's Jason, the show where you provide the requests, and we, or in this case, Jason, provides the charts. Mr. Pers, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do
All
it.
right, let's get after it here. The first request from the inbox, as always, if you have any requests, email us questions at stockmarketmedia.com. We will go through the inbox first and then we'll get to the chat. So let's start with this request from Hanson. He's looking at CRS Carpenter Technology Corporation. He's got a 3 month time frame. I've noticed, Hanson, you love your 3 month time frames. Anyway, CRS, what does this company do, Jason? They are a manufacturer of specialty metals. I guess that would make sense because the name is Carpenter Technology. So anyway,
Makes sense.
CRS, what are they doing here? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean this trend is nice. I really he's looking at a 3 month time frame.
That's what he said.
Wow. Yeah, so I really just want to commend him for actually saying time frame because that's really important. When we're looking at these things, if we just think of, hey, what are you trading? Are you looking for a mean reversion trade? That would be just to the top here. We'd say probably get out. You're looking for a longer term trade. You're really holding on to this trend. Maybe you entered here. Maybe you just entered here. I think this thing probably has some more upside to go, but to really tell where, let's look further out. And there's no overhead resistance anywhere. So even as far as we can go back,
This is an all-time high.
yep, this is an all-time high, and we like all-time highs. We like to buy all-time highs. We like to ride trends. And if you go back all the way to the turtle traders, this is in the 70s, actually when the stock started. When the stock was listed in the 70s, you had people like Jerry Parker, you had Tom Basso, you had all these other people basically learning that, hey, the best way to trade is just to continually buy new highs. And so this goes all the way back to the 20s with Richard Donchian, the turtle traders in the 70s and 80s, and so on. So I think that buying new highs is a very good thing to do. I think here is just something where you just kind of let it ride. A first real signal would have been back here. We're all the way talking about $80 here. Now we're up to 216. There's no real way to tell where this thing will end. The best thing to do for me, what I do in these type of situations, is I just use a trailing stop, something, figure out the volatility of the product. And there's a bunch of ways to do it, but just to show you, ATRs are my favorite. But just to show you a couple things. This would be a correction that you probably wouldn't want to hold on to, and you see that's a huge 50% correction. But then if you go up a little further and you go, okay, what's a normal correction in this stock? And let's say we go here. These are some ugly arrows. Give me a second. I can make those a little bit smaller. There's plenty of ugly arrows online, that's for sure. So that's 23%. So you could go something like and use a 25% trailing stop. This way you're not getting stopped out every 5 seconds within that trade. And then it can keep going. So I think this is a good way to just kind of take advantage of this trade right now. Use a wide trailing stop, if a trailing stop at all, and just wait till it really breaks down to sell it.
But you're not chasing it up here.
Yes, I wouldn't chase it up here. If somebody was buying it today, and you know what, you could. Once again, you could. Because look at that pullback, and now we're just hitting a new high. Like, you could buy it today. It's a little scary, but you could buy it.
And then as far as targets go, would you just use like a Fibonacci extension and be done with it? Because we're at all-time highs, so there is nothing up here.
Yeah, so I mean, you could use a fib extension, but once again, it's like in a trend that's that strong, a fib extension is just kind of going to tell you, hey, we might see a little bit of resistance here, but it's really not going to tell you much. Once you get to those new highs, it's like they can keep, think of gold. Sam and I have listed out every fib extension. It's basically like consolidated there for a minute and just Blu-ray passed through it. Yeah. And this kind of looks very similar. And obviously it likes whatever's going on with the stock. It likes its earnings, the market environment, whatever it is, it's pushing it to the upside. So I wouldn't get in the way of this one or think it's going to slow down anytime soon. But it does look a little bit extended on long-term time frames. But if you're looking at 3 months, like there's nothing wrong with buying the new high here.
All right. Jason, we had an email last week. Someone wanting to ask us about Asia. So, and he dropped a few Asia tickers in there. So let's go over there. Let's start in the Philippines. EPHE. This is the iShares MSCI Philippines ETF.
EP what?
EPHE.
HE.
And as with most assets tied to Southeast Asia of late. EPHE is ripping, which you haven't been able to say for that often. But it's had a very, very good uh, month, right? So
Yes.
anyway, this is a long-term chart going back to the whole history of the fund. But what say you?
Yeah, I'm always and for me, everything always is going to start. I like to go very long term and then kind of come in. My time frame's very long, but at the same time, it's like, what targets do you have if you just look at something very short term, and it's really not going to give you much.
Yeah.
But these things move, and that's the thing. In the environment, and the environment's very important. If it's a weak dollar environment, like right now, the dollar is bouncing dramatically. It's having a nice bounce today, but if the dollar keeps falling and moving down, we're going to see money continue to flow into these assets, and the dollar looks like it's kind of in a down cycle. So I think these bounces will be a little bit more short-lived than people believe. So kind of looking at these areas like Southeast Asia, the Philippines, whatever it is, I think it's a great time to start buying these things if you get the buy signal. And once again, if we get closer, do we see a buy signal here? And so now that we're closer, it's like, it just looks very extended for a very short-term move. It's not really taking out some new highs, not new 52-week highs, not 100-day highs. Actually, it looks like it hit a 100-day high. That's it. So it hit a 100-day high here, and then basically it'd be hitting a new 52-week high here. And we're just not seeing that yet. So we're not seeing anything to say to buy this thing, but I definitely like the idea of buying global assets today. I'm buying a ton of them. I own a ton of them. I would be very interested in buying this one if it started to kind of print a new high. Most of the time, what you want to do with these type of trades, if you're looking at something like global markets, you really want to get momentum behind them. I know everybody likes mean reversion trading. It's kind of a thing a lot of people like to do. And it's normal. Like when you go to the grocery store, do you try to buy the most expensive bananas when you get there? Probably not. That sounds ridiculous. You try to find the one that's a deal. So most of us are it's ingrained into us to buy cheap and sell dear, meaning to sell high. But at the same time, the better strategy for traders is to buy high and sell higher. And so at this point, I think I'd rather just wait to see if it's actually going to get up and above this level. And let's look at the level to give an exact number. Like you could buy it here. Once again, it's kind of very similar to what we talked about earlier. You could buy it. It's just a little bit extended. So above 30, if it kind of consolidated here for a bit and then broke out above 30, I'd be really interested. But it did make a 100-day high all the way here around $26. So you could be in that position, or you could just try to buy it and try to trend it up to $30. You could buy it for a short-term range trade. So there's a bunch of trades here, but I definitely like this one.
Well, this person also asked about VNM and THD, so it's Thailand and Vietnam, and you could say it's probably the exact same thing about those. These all look the same.
Yes.
Yep.
So
okay.
Love Vietnam. Vietnam's one that's definitely interesting. It's one that we got shaken out of immediately. It was basically gave a 100-day, as you guys can see, gave a 100-day high buy signal, and then immediately it was Liberation Day right after that, and then right after that signal, it basically sold off, hit our stop very quickly, but it reversed, gave us a false breakdown signal, which is another signal that we use in our fund, basically saying we hit new lows and then we broke above that very quickly. That has to be above 60 days to be statistically significant, and so it is. And so we do have a long position in Vietnam at the moment, looking for this thing to continue to move higher. I like all of these trades. I think they're all phenomenal trades. I just think that there might be better tactical use as a trader when to get in. This thing could break out to another new high here, and that would be a time to buy. So basically getting above the level of 1280, we get above 1280. We're basically at a point where we could kind of go, okay, well, this thing's definitely probably going to go higher. It's broken above that major resistance zone. It broke above that point where it sold off very heavily. And then you could buy this thing above 1280 and sail it to wherever you really want. But I love these trades. Southeast Asia, South America, these trades are really going to take off, and a great place for you to be if you want to make some money. Like there's a lot of money to be made out there, and a lot of people are just so focused on either the US is up, like today, the US is up, everything's great, everybody's happy. But people haven't noticed there's a lot of things that have been up a lot more very quickly in a very short term period of time. So continue to look out to those different areas, and you're going to make a lot more. And the big thing about trading is, as a trader, you're trying to outperform the S&P 500. How do you do that? Well, you could either be the most tactical person in the world and day trade and be the best at that, which is very hard to do, or you could just try to find where the relative strength is and then flow into those sectors. So relative strength right now is in international stocks. It's in gold miners. So continue to flow into those sectors. So I love that you guys brought up Southeast Asia today. Made my day. Thank you.
All right, let's go to the chat. Topher is asking about Hood, Robinhood. Speaking of breaking out its new all-time highs, this one looks like it has new all-time highs in its sights. All-time high, I believe, is 67. We're at 57 right now. We've come a long way since Liberation Day.
We have come a long way since Liberation Day. What's the ticker again?
Hood.
Hood. All right. Sorry, I was reading the chat. You guys have a bunch of good stuff to say today. So Hood. If you look long term, big smiley face at this point, and we're really trying to get up above those IPO highs at the moment. So the IPO high, I always use closes for these, would be at 55. So 55 was the IPO closing high. And we're hanging out above that.
Yeah, the closing high from like a month ago or 2 months ago was what, 63?
Yes.
65 was the
65. High. Liberation Day, probably, I'm assuming. Somewhere, a little earlier. Yeah. But no, I like this one. It goes back to the old O'Neill method, which is buying things above their IPO highs. That's an old stock method that actually does work. When things finally come all the way down, they make a huge smiley face, break out of that base, new 52-week highs and above their IOP highs. That's a situation of where you usually see a lot of momentum and a lot of upside in the market. So I do think that this continues to be something that you should hold. Could probably move a lot higher. Getting up to 65 would be the first bit of resistance, but to me, resistance that's just a peak like that isn't that significant to me. There's not going to be a lot of volume. There's not going to be a lot of buyers and sellers right there. So I think it'll blow right past 65. Probably head towards 80 pretty quickly. And then once again, we're in a scenario just like we were talking about earlier, which is there's no above resistance. When there's no above resistance, that's a time where it can go a lot higher.
Okay, this is an interesting one. The ticker was TXNM. This is from Wavy. Apparently they're being acquired, or there's reports that they're being acquired by Blackstone, so they're maybe getting taken off the board here. The stock has certainly traded like a stock that's being acquired. It's barely moved in the past few weeks. So I don't know what you do with that. If you're trying to buy this thing and looking for a bidding war or a big premium, I mean, I suppose you could do that. But if it's going to go off the board, it's going to go off the board. I'm not really sure how much more juice there is left in this squeeze. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Spencer right there. It's not a great time to really do much with it, but it's something to continue to pay attention to. So I like the idea of just watching it, pay attention to it, and if you're really interested in it, see where it ends up, see where you want to go with it. But I wouldn't just buy it just to buy it. A lot of people like to do that, and then they try to think of what the split's going to be and all this stuff, and it's like it's too fancy, it's too cute. Don't even mess with it. There's better trades out there.
Okay, this one is right up your alley. It's almost like someone knew you'd be here today. Mr. Zerby is asking about soy futures. He's looking for a base breakout in soy futures. Oh boy.
Okay. All right. That's what I'm talking about. So it usually happens all the time on here, is that everybody wants to talk about soybeans.
I wouldn't even know how to find the soybean chart.
Well, the ticker is CS. I actually don't look at futures much on here, so give me 1 second. CS. There we go.
slash or some ridiculous
It's
thing.
exclamation point
Okay.
on this one. But yeah, so as you can see,
It's already marked up. Look at that.
it's already marked up and ready to go for you guys. So if you guys are looking at this, and once again, and Spencer knows this, I'm a futures trader. I have a futures fund. So, and I also I cover all the fixed stuff at All Star Charts. So, this is near and dear to me and something that I do talk about a lot because there's a lot of money to be made in the futures market, even though a lot of people don't trade it. But if you look at this, just above 1068, this is what I've continued to just wait for. And I think that there's a lot of really great things about soybeans and soybean oil. If you're looking at soybean oil, you can also look to the fact that most of the big oil companies right now are looking for the government to start to create more biofuels and open up regulations around biofuels, which could boost soybean prices or also corn prices. So I do think that this has some juice to it. If you don't have futures data, you can look at SOYB. SOYB is the ETF. Also, DBA is a great ETF that combines a lot of different commodities inside of it, softs and agricultural commodities. So all the way from cocoa all the way to soybeans. So it covers them all. So a couple things for you guys to keep an eye out, Don. Thanks for bringing up soybeans. That's a good one.
Mr. Zerby's also reminding me that I missed his email in the inbox. He had emailed us about an aerospace defense name. LOAR is the ticker. He's targeting the 118 to 120 range. Thoughts on LOAR?
Huh. So if we're looking at this one, wow. That probably is a great setup. I'll give you a couple reasons why. The wick. For me, when I'm looking at candles and I see a couple daily wicks that look like this, I'm always thinking this thing's going to move higher. Funny story back in the day, Richard Dennis. Richard Dennis is a very famous trader, made a ridiculous amount of money out of like $3,000. One of his chart patterns that he would actually add to his positions on was a 3-bar triangle. So basically a down move here, another move that basically kind of either a doji candle or a candle that looks similar to this, and then a nice green candle. Obviously it's not green on here, but you guys know what I mean. So this is an up candle. So I think this thing could move up. Definitely 120. It's probably easy, but I would just really hold on. I don't even know where's the resistance at on this thing. There is no resistance. So that's going back just on a weekly chart. It's only been listed for a couple years, or at least price data only goes back a couple years. But looking at this, I definitely think this thing could move at least up to 110, 120, 130, 140. There's no real tell once you get above that zone because there isn't any price memory up there. So I would just sail that thing. Once again, trailing stops probably your easiest thing to do at that point. Hang on to a trailing stop, let that thing run, and see where it ends up.
Okay, a bunch more tickers in the chat. We won't get to all of them, I don't think, but we'll do our best here. So Alexander is asking about Okta, OKTA. This stock used to be $300 back in the day. It's not, or maybe not 300. I think the all-time high was 294. Anyway, we're a long ways off from that, but would you call this a base, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a nice base, right? Like, let's take a look at this. So if we look at this thing all the way from those old highs, yeah, it's basically coming out of a big base right here. So I think this thing's a buy right now. Once again, it's like if you're tactically trading and you're looking for pullbacks and all these things, no. But if you're just looking for a situation where you want to be in a trend that could possibly move all the way back up to 300, I think this is a great trade. It might take some time. There'll probably be drawdowns. It might even come back to that 110 level at some point very soon. But I do think over the long run, if you like this stock, if the fundamentals look right for you, technically speaking, it looks amazing.
Okay. Here's an interesting one. DG, Dollar General.
I saw that.
Chris K asked about this in the chat. Chris says it's for a long-term hold. That's important context. Thank you for telling us that, because when you say long-term hold, I assume that you mean years. In which case, maybe 10-20% drawdown doesn't phase you, right? But or maybe it does. I don't know. But anyway, this stock has went all the way up to like 60 something. Is now in a massive like 60% drawdown, more than that. So I don't know what you do with this one, Jason. It's tough.
It's a tough one. Pretty dead company. I just for a long-term hold, I don't know. But once again, it's like I have seen this stock over the years just perform like crazy, and I have no idea why. I have an idea.
They're everywhere, man. I mean,
I know they're everywhere.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people like discredit it, and I think you and I actually talked about this a while ago because we were on the morning show at some point, and you mentioned that like they're everywhere. If you get out of the normal cities, like they're everywhere, and that's true. Like wherever you go outside of town, they are. But I just think like the old model that they're on, things like that. I don't know how long it can continue to work. However, they do make money. Their company fundamentals don't look that bad. They do continue to make money. So I think if like you're a real long-term believer, sure. But at the same time, for me, it's I'm looking at the price action. This is a nasty downtrend. You could say like if you want to be bullish about it, and a lot of people try to do this where they'll go, but Jason, I don't know what you're talking about because this is a falling wedge, and they would draw one of these and they go, okay, that's just kind of a falling wedge, and at some point we'll buy this thing and it's just gonna rip to the upside, and you'll see, you'll be stupid and blah blah blah. Now once again, everybody's got to trade the way they trade, so I'm not saying anything against it if you do, but the falling wedge method to buy lows or breakouts, it just doesn't work. It's basically trying to put lipstick on a pig. You're basically talking about this thing is in a downtrend no matter what you look at on it. And yes, it's consolidating a little bit more, it's getting a little bit tighter, but it's probably not just going to all of a sudden rip to the upside and start hitting 300 at some point very soon. But once again, if you trade that way, you like the fundamentals of the company, all you, but just not for me.
Let's look at another beaten down one. First Solar, FSLR. This is for who asked about this in the chat? This was from NG, right? Was this from NG? Was this from you? And yeah, NP Mel 215. First Solar. I mean, we know Solar has the juice, so it can rip in your face, right? But at the moment, it has been punished, but it is the best in show. It is the largest solar stock by a mile, so it's got that going for it.
I have some just seeing this island bottom setup. So if you're looking at this as just a pure technician, not even looking at it trend wise like I normally do, this island bottom here and just bouncing right out of it and gap and going, I think that's really bullish price action there. So we do have very bullish price action at the least here and this doesn't say like, hey, this thing's going to trend for a long time. This is just basically, let's probably get to a high volume zone. High volume zone is an area where the most buyers and sellers are. Back in the day, now we have great tools to do it, but back in the day, traders used to grab pencils and just put it above on their screen or on an actual chart and go, okay, the most bars have hit this level. And it's pretty obvious to see where that's at. That's between these levels. So basically 180 to 200, you're basically seeing the most bars in that zone. So I think this thing could, at the very least, make it back up to that zone around that level, even getting to 200. But I like the bottom action here. This gap out of this is actually very constructive. If you're very bullish on this sector for some reason, or the stock for some reason, I think you could take that trade. You could put a stop around 105, stop around 125 and just see where it ends up. But once again, it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Let's do one more, and let's do it for me. I've got a request, Jason.
Let's do it.
Request says BLK, BlackRock.
Yes. Looks very similar.
Similar to First Solar.
Similar, yes.
Okay.
Makes zero sense, but hey, a few weeks of consolidation sideways, and then now it's like, granted, this was a little bit stronger than for solar for sure, but like this gap out of that zone today on a Monday, that's usually pretty bullish price action. Like a lot of people don't look at that much, but it's like the open to the week and the closing to the week are always the most important. To me, if this thing could sustain up here and we can kind of like just really stay up here and end the week strong, I would say this thing's going to take back off once again. Probably hit new highs anytime soon. A big fan of the company. They make money, not what they do, but the company does make money. Fundamentally, obviously, it's a good, well-run company that makes money. Stock's always been kind of a winner if you're looking at the financial sector in general. So I can't see any reason why this thing couldn't hit new highs off of this if we have a strong weekly close.
Good. I agree with all that. You just reinforced my bias. Excellent. I love it when you. I love it when you.
Oh, you own it. Nice.
I love it when you can confirm my bias for me. All right, guys. That's where we'll wrap it up here. Jason Perez will be on the morning show with me tomorrow. So maybe save your requests. If you have any more, you can ask us tomorrow. We might do a little ticker time. We'll find out. I don't know. We'll play it
That
by
could be
ear.
fun. Yeah.
But that'll be tomorrow morning, 8:30 Eastern time. In the meantime, thank you for all the requests. And as always, if you have any requests throughout the week, we do collect all the emails from our inbox. So again, that's questions@stockmarketmedia.com. And we do this show every single Monday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Thank you for the request. Thank you, chat. As always, Jason, great job. And we'll see you guys tomorrow morning for the morning show.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.